Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome you all on behalf of us all, because though this gathering, this first meeting in many, what we hope will be many, is being facilitated by the Wildlife and Nature Protection Society, it is being done on behalf of all of you who are listening in and some who can't join us today, who have a interest in formulating a proper conservation plan for the Sri Lankan elephant. Before I start, I must thank Colombo Jewelry Stores, without whom this would not have been possible. They have sponsored this event, all the technology that goes into it and enables us to speak to you today. So let me first just do a brief explanation about the gathering. This is a first of a series of events that will happen quarterly, where we can hope we can all share information amongst each other. Everybody has a vast knowledge of experience of working with wild elephants, and we'd like to share that. We hope that it'll be based on the National Action Plan that has been submitted by a group of stakeholders, based on the elephant policy of the Department of Wildlife Conservation. And we are hoping to work together. I mean, unless these are implemented, these action plans are implemented, they are just words on a piece of paper. And we need to get together, we need to work together to come up with strategies on how we are going to get these plans put into action and work towards protecting the Sri Lankan elephant. As many of you know, things are in a very bad state at the moment, thanks to COVID, thanks to lockdown due to fuel crises. Many have not been able to travel out, and what we have heard is that there is a lot of devastation going on, a lot of loss of habitat. There are even shops and houses being built within elephant corridors, and this is going to impact the conservation of the wild elephant in the long term. Today's session, the first of many, is going to be focused on the situation at Minneriya. There is, at the Minneriya National Park, there is a real crisis, there's a tragedy being played out, and we are going to focus on it. Now, the methodology is most of you are online, so please send in your questions, any questions that you have on the chat. At the end of this session, we will be asking those who are interested to join us actually physically, so that we can have a discussion and come up with some tangible plans on what to do next. That will be facilitated again by the Wildlife Society, and we will get your involvement, your actual involvement in all of this. For those who are not quite into the present topic, the topic of conversation today, no matter your views, your questions are very valid, and in future meetings there may be a topic of conversation that you would like to get actively involved in. So the methodology, as I said, please send your questions in online, and we will take it on from there. So without further ado, we have a panel of, a group of panelists, all expertise in their own fields, very relevant to what's happening at Minneriya today. I must tell you that this was also chosen because the name gathering was chosen from this iconic, this world-renowned gathering of elephants in Minneriya, and that is under serious threat right now. And so, without further ado, let me introduce you first to our moderator, Dr. Sumit Pilapitiya. Actually, he doesn't need any introduction. Most of you know him. He's a former DG of the Department of Wildlife Conservation, and he has been in forefront of championing the cause of the wild elephant for some time. Right now, his inputs are of particular value, as since 2016, he has been undertaking a study of elephant behavior in Minneriya, Kaudula, all that area, and he has seen firsthand what has been happening there. So he will moderate this session. I will now hand over to him to introduce our speakers, our panelists for today. Sumit.
Thank you very much, Rohan, and good evening to you, all of you. I would like to say, as Rohan mentioned, I think the Great Elephant Gathering of Asia, as the gathering at Minneriya is known, is under severe threat at this point due to certain actions and non-actions that have taken place. We are trying to bring together in this forum all the players that are involved in this, particularly from the irrigation and water management side as well. So we have an exceptionally good panel today who will be discussing this issue with all of you. I have four panelists. Let me introduce them one by one. Dr. Prithviraj Fernando obviously needs no introduction to anybody who has been involved in elephant conservation in this country. Dr. Fernando qualified as a medical doctor from the North Colombo Medical College, but decided to pursue a career in conservation biology. He was awarded a MSc and PhD in the study of elephants by the University of Oregon. Thereupon, he joined Columbia University, New York to conduct research on Asian elephants and the Java rhinos in 2004. And in 2004, he returned to Sri Lanka and set up the Center for Conservation and Research, of which he is the chairman. He has worked on Asian elephants and the human-elephant conflict across their range. Dr. Fernando is a member of the Asian Elephant Specialist Group and a research associate at the Smithsonian Institution, USA. He was awarded the Whitley Award for Nature Conservation and Sri Lankan Presidential Award for Scientific Excellence. My next panelist is Mr. Srilal Mittapala. Mr. Mittapala currently works as a consultant to the tourism sector, where his expertise includes sustainable tourism and environment, wildlife, and elephants of Sri Lanka. Mr. Mittapala has always been fascinated by elephants and has been a regular visitor to Sri Lanka's national parks over the last 30 years and to observe and study Sri Lankan elephants. In fact, I meet him very regularly when we are in parks, and he is one of the few that I know who really observe rules to the letter, which is a failing many of us have by not observing rules in parks, but Mr. Mittapala is one person who really observes it. He undertook some formal research on the population dynamics of the Sri Lankan elephant at Udawalawe. He has written a book named Tranquil Footsteps based on his observations and research. Mr. Mittapala also is an invited speaker to both local and international audiences on a wide variety of topics ranging from elephants to wildlife and sustainable tourism. I have great pleasure in introducing my next guest, who is not somebody who we traditionally see at these conservation fora. He is Mr. Abhay Sriwardana. Mr. Abhay Sriwardana is a chartered civil engineer and is presently the Director of Irrigation on the subject of water management in the irrigation department. He is also the President of the Association of Public Service Engineers. He has extensive experience in the field of civil engineering, including over 28 years in the government sector. He holds a BSc in civil engineering and has authored several books on irrigation management, hydraulic civilizations in Sri Lanka, and irrigation projects. He also is a part-time lecturer at the Irrigation Training Institute. It also gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce Mr. Nilantha Dhanapala, who is also from the water management sector. Mr. Dhanapala has completed his BSc in engineering at the University of Peradeniya, where he specialized in civil engineering. He also completed an MSc in engineering, specializing in environment and water engineering at the same university. He currently chairs the Water Management Committee and is also a director at the Mahavali Consultancy Bureau. Since the year 2000, he has served in many positions at the Mahavali Authority of Sri Lanka. These include engineering, project management, and directorships on several projects. So these are the just a brief bio on our eminent members of the eminent members who are on the panel, and I would like to now start the our discussion. Prior to that, I would like to make a brief presentation on the situation in Minneriya, where I am asking the question, is the future of the great elephant gathering of Asia, what is the future of it? The reason is that over the last few years, due to man-made activity, we have been having quite serious implications on the elephant. Some of this may be intentional decision making, maybe from the political authorities, but most of it I think is unintentional, where the stakeholders that play a role in this have not sat together. So WNPS is making an attempt to get everybody to sit together, as you know, so that we can discuss some of these issues. Let me start off by talking to you about what the Great Elephant Gathering in Minneriya is all about. It is the coming together of a large number of elephants on the grasslands of the lake bed of Minneriya Reservoir in the height of the dry season. Elephants can be observed in large numbers from May to October. The highlight is when about 350 to 400 elephants can be observed, most likely during the months of August and September. The elephant gathering has become famous because it is one of the best locations in the world to observe such a large number of Asian elephants in one location, particularly on the grasslands of Minneriya. When you see these large numbers of elephants in small significant sized groups, but on one grassland that you can see about 300 to 400 elephants at times. And this is largely during the months of August and September, and we in Sri Lanka, even from the tourism sector, I am sure Sri Lal will agree that we used to say that it's guaranteed that you will see elephants at that time. Unfortunately now, guaranteeing large numbers of elephants in Minneriya has become a huge challenge because of certain activities that have taken place over the last few years. The best place to observe, Minneriya is also the best place to observe interesting elephant social behavior, and it is one of the unique locations among other Asian elephant range states. So therefore, it has become one of the premier tourist attractions in Sri Lanka. The Lonely Planet identified the elephant gathering in Minneriya as one of the 10 greatest wildlife wonders of the world. This was the only wonder identified in Sri Lanka, and there was only one more wonder identified in Asia. So Sri Lanka has a unique place because of the gathering among wildlife wonders in this world. So why do elephants gather in the Minneriya grasslands? There is a perception that elephants gather in the Minneriya reservoir bed because of water in the dry season, but this perception is wrong. The availability of water is only an added advantage for the elephants. That was not the primary reason for them coming to the grasslands. The primary reasons that the elephants come to the grasslands of Minneriya is largely for the grasslands, for the grass. See, Minneriya is more special than most other places, Minneriya and Kaudulla for that matter, and there are few other reservoirs in Sri Lanka that we have elephant populations that are dependent on the grasslands, and this dependence arises from the fact that the lake beds get submerged every year during the monsoon from November to March, and by getting submerged, the grass underneath tends to die, and then with the release of water in April for irrigation purposes, the grasslands gradually emerge, and with the grasslands emerging, fresh grass starts growing. It is these fresh grasslands that are attractive to the elephants, and these grasslands get gradually exposed throughout the dry season, and from about May until October or November, the grasslands of there are elephants in the grasslands of Minneriya, sometimes even until December, and towards the latter part, October, November, December, you see quite a few elephants on the grasslands of Kaudulla when the Minneriya grasslands starts getting submerged. This cycle occurs every year in Minneriya and Kaudulla, and the emerging grasslands become excellent feeding grounds for elephants. Generally, there is a cycle that the elephants have been following, and when I say elephants following, it doesn't mean every elephant follows it, but a majority do follow this cycle, going from Minneriya to Kaudulla to Hurulu Eco Park and back to Minneriya through this annual cycle. So, the grasslands of Minneriya and Kaudulla are absolutely essential for ensuring the conservation future of this elephant population. But when I say the grasslands are essential, if the grasslands are exposed year round, also that is not very good. It has to go through this cycle of getting submerged and then getting exposed for it to be attractive for the elephants. So, this is a slide that was prepared by the Federation of Environmental Organizations that gives the cycle of elephant movement from Minneriya to Kaudulla and from Kaudulla to Hurulu Eco Park and back to Minneriya. Then since 2018, with the completion of the Moradakanda project, there have been unseasonal water releases into Minneriya since 2018. These water releases commenced in 2018 with a little bit of water being released in June, July. In 2019, 2020, 2021, the water releases have significantly increased. And the reservoir, even in 2022, the reservoir was virtually at full level at the end of May 2022, and the elephants were now coming in because of the usual cycle. They were coming into Minneriya, and I must really thank Mr. Nilantha Dhanapala, who is one of our panelists, who is also the chairman of the Water Management Committee, because I appealed to him through an email, and as you know, I have no status in the government to be appealing to government agencies to release water from Minneriya. Mr. Dhanapala obliged by immediately discussing the issue with the Wildlife Conservation Department, and water releases started in June this year, and that is why we had some elephants in Minneriya in June. However, early July the water releases stopped, but I was in Minneriya the last 10 days and the releases have begun again. So, the grasslands are reasonably available. Just to explain what I mean, this slide shows you that black area is the water in Minneriya during the dry season. The light green area is the grasslands that emerge with the reservoir receding. So, all these grasslands that are in the light green area is the grasslands that are available for the elephants, and the dark green area is the forest. So, when the reservoir is full, these light green areas of the grasslands are not available to elephants. So, I have been doing research in Minneriya since 2016. Actually, my research was based on social behavior of elephants and visual and tactile communication, but not really on the elephant numbers. But since I was there since 2016, I started once a month. I used to do a very approximate elephant count. I know that doing a count one day a month is not 100% scientifically representative, but it gives us a trend of what is going on. And you see from 2016, 17 and 18, we had elephant numbers in Minneriya ranging from 350 to 400. But with the advent of water releases from 2018, very little was released, but 2019, 20 and 21, quite an amount of water was released. The elephant population in Minneriya seemed to reduce drastically, and the worst was in 2021, when during the month of September the average elephant, the number of elephants was only 20 elephants, and in September I did the count once a week. The relationship with water, you could see there is a relationship, because in 2021 on August 9th the reservoir was around 77% full. That is, I looked at a map from the irrigation department and got it, so it's not 100% accurate, somewhere in that range. The daily elephant numbers were about 119. By August 22nd, the reservoir water level had gone up to around 88%. Then the elephant numbers dropped to around 41. This reduction of elephant numbers is largely because the lack of grasslands, because the more water that is in the reservoir, the less grasslands that we have. This is also data taken from the Federation of Environmental Organizations, who is now doing a study, a detailed study of trying to relate elephant numbers with reservoir water levels in Minneriya, Kaudulla, Kantale and Giritale, and trying to link it with human-elephant conflict as well as numbers on the grasslands. So this graph also shows, the red line shows the water levels in 2022, and this graph also shows that with the water level receding, elephant numbers go up. So we see a clear relationship with the elephant numbers and the water level and the availability of grasslands. But what we are trying to do today in our panel discussion is to try to get more understanding of the reasons for water releases from the irrigation and water management authorities, because we need to come to a compromise that we can save the elephant gathering, which is a unique tourism experience, as well as ensure the long-term conservation future of the elephants in Minneriya. So I think I would like to appeal to all of us to work together to save the great elephant gathering of Asia. And with that, I would like to invite Mr. Abe Siriwardana to make a few comments on the water requirements for irrigation purposes. Why don't you sit here, it will be easier.
Okay. Good evening to all. Thank you, Dr. Pilapitia, chairperson today's sessions, and Dr. Mitrapala, Mr. Mitrapala, and all other invitees, and my friend Engineer Niranta Dhanapala also on Zoom virtual basis. And I have great opportunity to express on something on irrigation in Sri Lanka, and with related to elephant gathering and other issues. Actually, I happily came because normally we as Sri Lanka, we came from hydraulic civilization, but at present most of the people do not know our background and what is entire situation of our country. So I happily came to say something and as awareness to our people involved in environment. Actually, we started hydraulic civilization 400 BC during Pandukabe's time. First tank was built during that time. After that, we built so many tanks in Sri Lanka. That Vari is Sanskrit language for water. Vari means water, and not irrigation is coming from British. We are not irrigation department, actually we are water department. We are responsible for water resource management, design, planning, construction and maintenance in Sri Lanka. So irrigation tanks are not constructed only for the agriculture purpose. It has multifunctional purposes, and hydropower, drinking water, environment, wildlife, forest, industry, many things focus on planning and design of irrigation reservoirs, not only the agriculture. In that case, reservoirs are well designed ecosystem. It's a balanced ecosystem. We have more than 2000 years irrigation history in Sri Lanka. It's a different topic. We can say irrigation history more than 1 hour, but I am very shortly saying we have big history in irrigation. We developed from the irrigation history, and we had the colonial era. During that colonial era, many irrigation tanks were destroyed, and later British government, some renovation was done. Later, in 1900, irrigation department was formed. Then most of the old system and new system were developed. Then institutional arrangement of the department is we have 14 range and 52 divisional engineers, unit 215 office. We all located according to the hydrological boundaries. Actually, this is the biological boundary in Sri Lanka. Water is not flowing according to the administration boundaries. That is hydrological boundaries. It is designed our range division according to the hydrological boundaries. Except Jaffna Peninsula, we have all the office. So vision of the department, well-known statement made by King Parakrambahu, not to allow single drop of water falling from the sky to sea without serving ecosystem. Please remember that without serving ecosystem and the mankind. To achieve that vision, we have the mission. So mission, the main priority, what are the activities performing to achieve the vision? Mainly for agriculture. 80% of the irrigated water is used for agriculture. Then environment, forest, wildlife also considered when we are constructing or rehabilitating a reservoir. And drinking water another component, hydropower is the main component in today's scenario, and domestic and recreational values, entertainment, flood detention, disaster management, inland fisheries, etc. are the major components in irrigation reservoirs. Those are the main reservoirs under all sectors, all the institutions in Sri Lanka. Irrigation department is the major institution having 242 major medium irrigation reservoirs. Mahavali about 15 major reservoirs, they have some small reservoirs also. CEB hydropower only reservoirs 9, National Water Supply and Drainage Board 4, all 9 provincial councils have 143, total about 413 major medium reservoirs in our country. It gives many multifunctional benefits to the nation. Then economic values, if we refer to economic values, national food security is the main factor. It's save about 500 billion rupees to the country annually, and paddy and other field crops. When we refer to Minneriya and Polonnaruwa system, 14% of the national food security is contributed from Polonnaruwa and Kantare system. And hydropower also from all the reservoirs, this is little drawn, 40% of the national demand is covered by reservoirs. It is a huge amount, difficult to calculate with today's prices. And drinking water, 51% of the national demand is covered by reservoirs. Inland fisheries also another factor, average about 20 billion. Flood detention and disaster management, we are the main stakeholder giving technical inputs to the disaster management center. In case of job security, full-time farmers, we have 20% of the population. We have 22 million population in Sri Lanka. 20% of the farmers are irrigated agriculture farmers, and part-time farmers, if you go to Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, they are part-time farmers, about 15% of the population. But if you go to Polonnaruwa, Hambantara, you can see full-time farmers. Maintain water table and groundwater recharge, forest and wildlife also considered, and many recreational values. If you refer these factors, entire country depend on reservoirs and other water bodies. Other values or reservoirs, tourism. You are very happy to see these figures. I think one of your member gave me these figures from tourist board. 70% from the wildlife park, that total income in 2018 about $4 billion US, and 17% from the wildlife park. And we have 73 major reservoirs under the irrigation department. Out of 73 major reservoirs, more than 50 major reservoirs amalgamated with the wildlife park in the country. Not only Minneriya, if you go to Kaudulla, that Ludugambhera, Udawalawa, many areas you can see wildlife park together with big reservoir. We are very love to this wildlife activities, and we are always considering this aspect as irrigation department. Then other values that boat riding and local and foreign tourism. Those also now a new trend in irrigation reservoirs. Many cities, they ask some approval for this boat riding. Tisaveva boat riding and Kandeyala and Boralaskamo in Colombo. And boat riding is another new concept coming for irrigation reservoirs. And leisure time and holiday bungalows, we also have constructed some bungalows in Lunugam Behera and Beheragala areas. Those are also we are giving as a project item from the irrigation department. And another one is the fish and shrimp production in inland fisheries industry, also promoted under this reservoir areas, major reservoirs and medium reservoirs as well. And new trend, another new trend is jogging park. Recently there was a big ha-ho in the Parakram Samudra, but many areas it is recommended, but some areas not recommended. Mainly cities and new developed areas, it is very demand now. And the religious and cultural events, we have to provide water for religious and cultural events. Today also we have to keep, engineer Nilantha Dhanapala have to keep the Mahaveli river in good condition for the water cutting ceremony in Gattonway today. So those are not known by normal citizen in Sri Lanka, but water is the entire process, entire economy and entire culture in Sri Lanka. That's why I am putting these slides. And if we go to irrigation website, as Dr. Pilapitiya explained, you can see after COVID pandemic situation, we put all the data into our website. If you go to irrigation department website, you can see all major medium reservoirs data. Then this is Minneriya data, I copied it from yesterday. It is about 60% capacity. And overall average reservoir capacity is yesterday 40%. You can see all the data that we update daily this website. That is not the simple task in a government department. So we daily update. We started 2 years back after pandemic situation to update this daily data with all the reservoirs. And also you can see reservoir behavior also, this Minneriya behavior up to August 10th you can see from the website. And also we cannot forget we are working according to the law. We are working according to the law, and irrigation ordinance says any decision should be made in an irrigation scheme with the project management committee and the cultivation meeting. Then divisional secretary, irrigation engineer, agriculture officers, vet surgeon, agrarian and all officers related to agriculture and water are members of project management committee. We can invite wildlife department also for this committee, then they can understand the correct situation. But farmers representatives are the majority. Farmer organization reps are the majority. Then this is the subject you are interested about, and this figure shows last 5 years reservoir behavior of Minneriya reservoir. Minneriya. You can see that 2018, that blue dotted line is the 2018 figure. The most attractive year for tourism and other income generation. 2018, that as Dr. Pilapitiya mentioned, September, August. I have demarcated September and August and September separately in another column. During that 2018, it is below our 72 line, 92. You can see some dotted red line is there. To issue water for Kantale, we have to maintain some level, 91.74. That means 89.38 MCM. but pool supply level is somewhere above 138 or 39 something. But 2018, that August, September up to October 15, it was below 60% also. Average you can say 75%. But 2019 dotted line red one, also that period August, September is okay. 2020 that purple one, that period is covered. Elephant can behave without any problem, enough space is there to the purple line. Then 21, you can see the blue dark line, it goes above. It goes above August, September. It is about more than 100 NCM gone and above the Kantale required level also. But 2022, now we are in August, it is going to be reducing now. This is the red line. But if you refer to the 20 years average, that green line is the 20 years average. We have 100 years data in the irrigation department. We got 20 years average, the dark green line. It shows that period is okay, no harm. But people asking several questions, why you are maintaining this reservoir level up to some level, not required. The topic also given different way. Unseasonal water issues. This is not familiar for the irrigation department. We are issuing water throughout the year, not only the seasonal water, we are issuing water from the reservoirs throughout the year. Anyway, that 2021 something has happened. 2021 something has happened. That is the only difference I can see from this last 5 years figures. We have all these figures. Then we check from the reservoir levels. This is very technical data. I think some of you cannot understand, but some engineers and some technical people can understand area capacity curve of Minneriya reservoir. When it was renovated in 1937, this area capacity curve has been developed, and after that 1967 it was developed. Then this is the present area capacity curve. This line shows that dotted line across the horizontal line, it shows the Kantale required level, 92, close to 92 level. This x-axis is the elevation, this axis is the capacity, this axis is the area, this area capacity curve. Any point you can see from this area capacity curve, this is highly technical data available from the Minneriya file. So, if we refer to area capacity curve, always we can see some space for the elephant. Total tank bed area at full supply level. Total tank bed area means maximum submerged area is 2,500 hectares. About 6,000 acres submerged. Up to it's come to maximum level. Maximum level is about 138 to 140 according to my understanding. So, total submerged area at FSL level about 2,500 hectares, about 6,000 acres. Submerged area at 91.74 MSL in this dot line, 1,600 hectares. So, always balance space for elephant is available about 900 hectares. About 2,200 acres is available every year except 2021. That is our calculation. If any technical person or any engineer come in to further analyze, we will give with good explanation about this one. But 2021 something has happened. I agree. Then reason for the unseasonal water release into Minneriya according to your definition. we also say unseasonal water release into Minneriya. That is occurred only in 2021. What is was happened, Engineer Nilantha Dhanapala is there, he may explain. Meteorological department announced below normal situation in Mahaweli catchment, but 2021 we received above normal rainfall to Mahaweli catchment. It is actually it's a blessing during that period. Then we were facing fuel crisis in the country, COVID pandemic situation in the country, so we were able to increase hydropower generation up to 70% in the country. Otherwise, we are in a big power cut. So we increase hydropower generation in the country. And also fertilizer problems were arise. Then farmers were reluctant to cultivate, and they go for late cultivation. But we had to do the power generation allow for all the time. That unexpected situation happened 2021, no other option during the time, no diesel. It was happened to sometime 14-hour power cut, they announced, later it was gradually reduced because of this valuable rainfall. Then extra extent, later farmers and we together decided to go for additional cultivation, third crop, etc., to safeguard the food security in the country. So these things happen, but during the time we observed that no any foreign or local tourism were observed in this area or any other area in the country. So no any request came from any other organization or party about this problem. Engineer Dhanapala and myself together and release maximum power generation from Maragahakanda and extend the full cultivation in the old area, Kantale, Kaudulla, Minneriya, Parakrama Samudra, Giritala, etc. All this is yellow season, but we gone for 100% cultivation, right? Then constraint. Then what is happening now? Dr. Pilapitia is telling something, elephants are not coming due to water levels and that. But I am telling water levels not a problem except 2021. Then what is happening? Something goes wrong. Lack of coordination among the stakeholders, actually speaking. Not a single complaint received by irrigation department directly up to 2021. No one complained. But many requests coming through various parties, including media, some media people asking me, what is happening in Minneriya? Then I explained that nothing happening. Something goes, nothing happening. Media asking, sometime tourist board are sending our Director General letter, what is happening in Minneriya? Then we are answering, nothing happening in Minneriya. It works well. Cultivation is good, hydropower absorbed from Maragahakanda, everything is good, but nothing happened. Then special awareness, I propose actually special awareness for all the stakeholders. The other sector is the inland fisheries sector, that also they think, according to the NACDA Act, they think that wrong message gone to fishermen that reservoirs are belongs to fishermen and they do everything without any permission. That is situation is there. I got the information, I am working for the department now 27 years. I got many information, many stakeholders, especially wildlife department, forest department has no communication with irrigation people in this level. One day during COVID time in 2020, I went to Agalawana and Minneriya through the park. Then so many questions arise. I went with the irrigation board, director of irrigation, but no one asked. They asked me to write the identity and got the call to their heads, and I was waiting for many times. Then I asked from the irrigation engineer, you are also facing the same problem? Yes, sir. He said, yes, sir, I am also facing the same thing. Then something goes wrong with this department. I am working with many organizations, but the divisional secretary, agrarian, agriculture, all other departments are working well. But These departments are no big coordination that I have to observe. I observed and I have to tell in this forum. Then objectives of Morakahakanda. Other one, objectives of Morakahakanda Reservoir is not clear for many officers. When Morakahakanda Reservoir were designed and planning and design done by irrigation department according to the water resource master plan, that reservoir, any reservoir, new reservoir constructed in Sri Lanka should give priority for the previous irrigation extent, previous dams. So, Morakahakanda, the first priority should be given to Alahara, Minneriya, Kavadulla, Kantale area. Then if there is balance only, they can use the north central part of the new area. That is the law and that is the agreement, that is the Morakahakanda feasibility study. Without giving required water for Minneriya, Alahara, Kavadulla, Parakram Samudra, Giritale, Kantale, they cannot divert that entire water to Upper Harar Canal through Hurulu River up to North Central. That is the agreement. But according to the water balance study, we understood that Morakahakanda Reservoir has enough, some capacity to divert Hurulu River. That is why that canal is constructing. Additional water is going to be there, but I saw some media, Morakahakanda is constructed for some other purpose and divert every water here. No, that first priority should be given to all systems. That is a riparian right according to the Sri Lankan constitution. Then functions of Mahavali water panel also not identified. Engineer Dhanapala, and he always calling me, he is getting complaint about Minneriya, but I never got any call. He is the secretary of the water panel. He may explain what is the duty of the water panel. He is coordinating all the sectors. Mahavali is the chairperson of the water panel. Irrigation is the co-chair, and we coordinate with water board, CEB and all parties, but controlling reservoir. Water management part of the reservoir is belong to irrigation engineer Minneriya. We cannot order irrigation engineer Minneriya to do that and this and reduce water like that. He has the management with the farming community and district secretary and all. That is the law, that is the irrigation ordinance. So, we have to communicate field level people together and then only we can solve. Engineer Dhanapala or myself cannot order Minneriya engineer to reduce that level. So, then wrong message is conveyed to general public also. So, we have to understand the real problem and convey the correct problem, rectify the necessary things. If we, now we are talking about human elephant conflict, but if we are not communicating well, it will be a farming community and other community conflict. So, we have to minimize those. Then actually this is very valuable for us, and your ideas and everything are welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vesivardhana. I think you enlightened us quite a bit on several issues. I think some of the most important issues is how your irrigation patterns you have been doing. Now, while there has been, we will discuss this more during the discussion, but just to make a comment, while there has been more excess water in 2021, 2019 and 2020, the water levels were higher than the historical water levels in Minneriya. So, that is when there is more water, there is less grasslands for the elephants. That is where the issue had come up. But more importantly than that, I think the most important thing you raised is that nobody from the authorities who are concerned about wildlife has been talking to you about it, which no. I think is a serious issue because it is the responsibility of the Wildlife Conservation Department to try to coordinate with irrigation and Mahavali to try to resolve these issues. So, that may be why you are getting messages from outside rather than direct coordination from the department itself, and that may be something that we really need to try to address with the wildlife conservation authorities as well. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Srilal Mittapala to make a few comments from the point of view of the tourism sector, and then we will go to Dr. Prithviraj Fernando and Mr. Nilantha Dhanapala.
Dr. Pilapitiya.
It's easier if you come here, Srilal, so I'll manage.
Dr. Pilapitiya.
Okay. Thank you, Sumit.
Can you hear me, Dr. Pilapitiya?
And thank you, Wildlife Nature Protection Society, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I am going to talk in the next 10 minutes about elephants and tourism. Now, before we go to elephants and tourism, let's look at tourism in Sri Lanka and wildlife tourism. I am basing all my studies on the year 2018, which was the best year for tourism, because after that we had Easter tax and then COVID. So the best year to consider for tourism as a benchmark is 2018. So when you look at from the past records, we had about 35% of tourists going to wildlife parks from all the tourists who come to Sri Lanka. But in 2018, we had close to 50% of all tourists who are coming to Sri Lanka were going to wildlife parks. So that shows you that wildlife tourism is becoming very popular in Sri Lanka. More than 50% of tourists are going to wildlife parks. And obviously, tourists go in to see charismatic animals. And Sri Lanka is blessed to have two charismatic animals, the leopard and the elephant, which takes pride of place for tourists. Next slide. So, to bring this message that we are losing elephants, we have to look after them. Some time ago, I started doing some research on how much is the value of elephants and this gathering. So for that, I took a very simple analysis. I took the revenue for Department of Wildlife, which is easily available. I took the revenue we get for jeep drivers, which is also available. And then I took the earnings of the hotels in that area, which is some assumptions have to be taken place. I assess the number of rooms and put the number of average room rate and the occupancy from tourist board. And I calculated. Next, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Next. So from that, I calculated that roughly the gathering was worth 3.3 billion rupees for Sri Lanka tourism and for Sri Lanka. It earned 3.3 billion rupees to Sri Lanka, which is roughly about 20 million US dollars. This is in 1 year for 3-4 months. I think I calculated May, June, July, August and September only. I took the occupancy for those months and calculated. So this, I thought, will open the eyes of the authorities to realize what a massive value, what a massive asset that we are sitting on this gathering. If you take from Sumit's figures about 400 elephants and you divide this, you will get something like about 10 million rupees per elephant values of the gathering. And that is also another way of throwing these information to authorities to make them aware of the potential of the gathering. Unfortunately, we have been talking about this, but very little people are thinking about this. As Sumit said, this is one of the world's greatest wildlife wonders. And it brings in tourists. Today tourists are booking Sri Lanka to go and see the gathering. So that's the importance of the gathering for Sri Lanka tourism. Next slide, please. And on the same basis, I calculated the revenue for Udawalawe, Minneriya, Kaudulla and Yala total and divided it by the number of elephants. I got the figure of 900 from Shermin, Dr. Shermin, 400 from you from Minneriya, and about 200 from Prutu's studies. So 1,500 elephants. You get the overall value of one elephant as 5 million in these 3 parks alone, which is actually about $30,000 per elephant. So this is what I'm trying to do, to look at it from a different angle so that we can understand and come to understand and realize the real value of this magnificent creature, which we must somehow try and protect. And that is my message. And as I told you, the gathering is a very unique occurrence, and in tourism it features widely. And that is why it is very important that we protect the gathering and elephants at large for Sri Lanka, not only for Sri Lanka's environment, but also for tourism to succeed in Sri Lanka. So I think I'll leave it at that, Sumit, and take some questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sri Lal. I think you very clearly laid out the economic implications to the country, and a country that at this point that value needs foreign exchange, the value of the gathering, right? So I feel that even now, the days that there are very few elephants in Minneriya, these days there are about 50 elephants in Minneriya.
Okay.
And I was in Minneriya the last 10 days, and there are tourists who come, and there are more elephants in Eco Park right now.
Okay.
But like I said, there are about 50 elephants in Eco Park, and there were around 50 elephants in Kaudulla also, 50, 60 elephants in Kaudulla. But every tourist I met was insisting that they go to Minneriya even when there is less elephants, because they say, according to the tourist guidebooks, the gathering should be in Minneriya in August, September. So we want to go there. Then they come back extremely disappointed, saying that they didn't see enough elephants. So that also has huge implications, long-term implications, because most of the people know about tourism attractions through social media. And these people are going to go and comment on social media talking about this. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Prithviraj Fernando and request him. He is unfortunately down in Tisamaharama and was unable to come in person for this. He will be connecting through Zoom, and I would like to invite Dr. Fernando to say a few words about the ranging patterns of the elephants in Minneriya Kaudulla area, as well as on the current situation of the body condition with elephants there. Mr. Dr. Fernando, please.
Thank you, Sumit. I will try to.
Yes, we can see you. Yeah, we can see your presentation.
Okay, so
Connection is not good.
we have say something.
Week 6.
Prutu, you are breaking up.
Maybe the very good. No?
Yes. Now that time you are all right. Try again.
Okay, so this is radio tracking. It gives you a back.
Excuse me, there may be
Nam
few computers volumes are on. That is why it's echoing.
Okay, is that?
That's fine. That's fine now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is actually data from 2006, where we had 4 females. As you know, females live in herds, so each female was from a different herd. So their movement gives us an idea of the movement of that herd. And then one male who was collared later. So here we have the Minneriya reservoir, then the Kaudulla reservoir, and then the parks around them. And then Giritala is here, and then the Parakram Samudra is here with Tangammadila Park. And this area is the Forest Department Galway Reserve, and then the Hurulu Reserve. This part of it is called the Eco Park. So here I'm showing you some of the data. In January 2010, we are looking at the 4 herds, and all of them are in the Eco Park area. So I will skip through that. So this is February 2010. March 2010, so one group, Samudra's group, is now moving towards Minneriya. But then they go back in April 2010 back to Eco Park. And at this time, one of the groups, Miri's group, is actually going towards Digampatana. And then by May 2010, Nancy's group is at Minneriya. And then they are joined by Samudra's group, while the other 2 groups actually don't even come to Minneriya at this time. August, September, and then October, they are using, they're also going to Parakram Samudra and also to Kaudulla. And here again, they're using Minneriya and Kaudulla. And here we also have the male, that is Hura in blue. And so now in January again, they are mostly in the Eco Park and Galway Reserve area. So this is the general pattern. So what you see here is that elephants use these reservoirs seasonally. Not all elephants, some herds, only some herds actually use them. Not all the elephants in this area use these reservoirs, some don't. And they go back and forth during this period. So basically, for the elephants that use these reservoirs, as Dr. Pilapike mentioned, it is they come there for the grass, not for the water. That's a very important resource, because the grass availability in these reservoirs, reservoir beds, is during the dry season. So that is the time that resources, food is very scarce for elephants. So in this case, that is a time of plenty for the elephant herds that are using these areas. Okay, so now it seems that there is some issue here. Now, how you can assess the impact of changes in resource availability on elephants are by 2 main methods. One is, in the short term, you can look at the body condition. And in the long term, you have to look at their demography, that is the age structure, and if there are any changes in that. So body condition is based on visual scoring of the body condition. So the simplest thing is, if you see a person, you immediately can say the person is emaciated, is very thin, is normal, is chubby or obese. So we apply the same thing to elephant. This is a elephant in very bad condition. This is still not very good. This is normal condition. This is in very good condition, and this is excellent condition. So based on that, we have developed a scale which has been used for many years now. and the scale goes from 0 to 10. And these are the references for this scale. So now using that, we have done preliminary assessment of the body condition of elephants in Minneriya and Kaudula. So this is looking at the data for adult males. And we have data from 2011, and then there is a gap. And then 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And so now males in elephants are single. So usually they tend to have better body condition than females and young ones which live in groups. Now the problem is, but even here we see that the body condition of males also seems to be declining from about 2018, 19, 20, 22. Normally you would expect males to have a body condition of at least 5 or above. So we see some decrease in body condition even in the males here, which is actually quite unusual because males are living alone. So that means there is some real problem. Now, when we go to the oops, why is that not moving? Okay, adult females, the issue is more dire. So here you see the body condition of females in these years, and usually you expect that the body condition should be above 4. So we see a decline from 2018 to 21. 21 it dips below 4, and in 22 it has gone down to 2.6. So this is extremely bad body condition. This is remember, this is the average body condition of the female. So this implies there is something very, very wrong happening here. And if you look at the juveniles, you see the same pattern. And again, the normal body condition should be above 4. And in this case, in 2022, it has gone down to 2.9, the average, and the range is 1 to 5. At this level, you are definitely having deaths of juveniles due to whatever cause, probably lack of nutrition. So there is something that is going on that is extremely severe. So basically, when we take the Minneriya Kaurula system, it is not just a case of reducing the water and the elephants will come back tomorrow, because we can see from this that there is a major ongoing issue with the elephants. And so already it is very likely that they have suffered very significant deaths of young animals. And elephants cannot recover from population declines in the short term because they reproduce only once every 4 or 5 years. And we may have already lost a generation of elephants of the gathering. So even if the issues are completely resolved today, the current impacts will probably persist for at least a decade. The issues may be complex and multifactorial. So there is no way we can resolve the entire issue today. So we will now suffer the consequences. And if we fail to resolve the issues, the gathering will be lost. So what can we do? So basically, we can see that there seems to be some issue with possibly the water levels in the reservoirs. So maybe can we do something about it? Because we know that this issue was not there prior to 2019. This is something that is happening after that. So if we can go to the water fluctuation levels prior to 2019, I think we can at least address what we know. Now, Mr. Abhisivardhana mentioned that their hands are tied and they have to work according to the law. But also, I would like to state here that now Morogaha Kanda project and the Upper Elahara Canal project, Northwest Canal project were all given, especially the Upper Elahara Canal project, was given conditional approval on the through the EIA process to prepare a wildlife management plan. And one of the conditions laid down in the wildlife management plan and agreed to by the project implementers was that they will develop a reservoir water management regime focusing on maximizing dry season grassland with this issue in mind. So even this was foreseen, I think about 10 years before this happened. And I think there has been a lot of concern, a lot of discussion through the years. This is not something that we have suddenly realized. There has been a lot of concern and discussion throughout these years, but nothing has happened as far as I can see. So, however, so this is what we think we know, but there may be other factors also. These elephants also use eco-park. Eco-park habitat is changing. We know that in parks like Udawalawe and Madhuroya, through succession, the park is changing and it's becoming less and less conducive to support elephants. We have put up a lot of electric fences in the recent past. We have seen that electric fences and range reduction in through these fences and driving elephants have created loss of elephants and population collapses in parks like Yala and Lungamhera. So we don't know whether these things are happening here also. So one way to get a handle on this is to look at radio tracking data. And fortunately, there are elephants being tracked. Well, at least there are elephants with collars. Through this period of concern, I think many of them were collared 2 or 3 years ago, and I believe the collars are still functional. They were funded by I believe the SCAM project, that maybe Dr. Pilipitia can tell us more about it. But unfortunately, this data is kept as top secret and it is not shared with anybody. But if that data is made available, we can try to see whether that data can tell us anything about what the issues are. So we could try to then correlate the tracking data and see if there is any explanation with regard to reservoir water levels, rainfall, habitat changes, electric fences, and things like that. So basically, we need to take remedial and preventive measures. We need to act now based on what we think we know. But in the longer term, we have to find out what is wrong, because there is really clearly something that is wrong. Thank you.
You have raised some very serious concerns that the wildlife authorities and the country as a whole needs to focus on, because I think we can't afford to lose this population of elephants due to neglect on our part, because the data seems to be available. And just to add to what Prutu said, recently in in early July, when I was in Minneriya, I found a calf dead on the grasslands, and this, I think, the death had occurred just a few hours before. So I am the one who informed the park warden about the calf's death, and then during the post-mortem, I think from what I heard, the post-mortem revealed that the calf had died through malnutrition and starvation. So this has become a bit of a problem, that what you're saying has already started happening in my view. So I think we need to work closely with the Wildlife Conservation Department also to try to figure out how we can collectively, all of us with irrigation and the Water Management Committee, and the Wildlife Conservation Department and Forest Department, because Hurulu Eco Park is under the jurisdiction of the Forest Department, and since that habitat is also critical to the survival of the Minneriya Kaudula elephant population, I think we might have to, all of us might have to work together to try to come up with a solution to this problem, because I think it is very critical that we try to address this as soon as possible without waiting until it is too late. With that, in the interest of time, let me try to, unfortunately Mr. Dhanapala is having a problem. He has his power cut right now, so he may not be able to connect to us. So he has requested that Mr. Abesi Rivardhana speak on his behalf, but Mr. Abesi Rivardhana got the presentation only 2 minutes ago, and he had just a minute while Prutu was talking to take a look at the slides. So please bear with him if there are any issues. So let me request Mr. Abesi Rivardhana to say a few words on behalf of Mr. Dhanapala.
Okay, thank you again. And actually, we are working together. I am now talking on behalf of Mr. Dhanapala, Nilantha Dhanapala, friend of mine. We are working together in Water Management Secretariat. I think you know what is Water Management Secretariat. It is formed after Mahavali development. During Mahavali development program, many new reservoirs were constructed. Victoria, Randanikala, Rantabe, Kotmale, and later in the recent past Margakand. In that case, there was a requirement that how to balance that, how to share this water. Then these big reservoirs mainly for power generation and drinking water, and we have to preserve the agriculture. We are agricultural country and we need rice for 3 times per day. So we have to protect all these things, including wildlife, forest and industry. So in that case, we form the Water Management Secretariat according to the irrigation ordinance under the cabinet approval during 1980s. So that Mahavali authority is the chairperson and irrigation department is the co-chair, and invited water board, CEP, any other stakeholders. One time we invited wildlife also. So we talk every week, we meet together, or every Friday. Today also we met as a water panel. Every Friday we met together, all these agencies, and discuss how to share this water. So with our intention is to protect all the component: agriculture, wildlife, fisheries industry, anything from the water we want to conserve. Any problems we welcome and analyze well. But you know, there are some cases cannot be avoided. Some cases, fuel issues, fuel crisis, dollar problems, and COVID pandemics. There are cases beyond our control. In that case, we have to take some decision, we like or not. That is collective decision, not my decision, nor Mr. Dhanapala's decision. That is the decision by the committee. Actually, there is no any political involvement in this committee, no any hierarchy advice on this committee. It is technical committee, decide based on water availability. So in that case, Mr. Dhanapala asked me to convey the message as much as possible. We will go for the draft. These are the data he sent me. All the reservoir data under irrigation department is sent in the water panel as well. What I have showed in my presentation, he prepared in a different way the same data. We submit the data to Mahavali or Minneriya and other Kaudulla, Parakram Samudra, all the 420 major reservoirs data we get for one database. With that, he analyzed everything and telling, don't worry that August, September up to October 15, I think, there will be a drop in Minneriya by considering the crop and other things. she shows this red one, the coming trend of Minneriya, coming trend for next 3 months. The red color is the coming trend. He said Maragahakanda also dropping down, but we are waiting for the monsoon rain. That the October 15 we are going to start the Maha season. So with that we expect the next monsoon coming. So we will after October 15 definitely it should increase the reservoir level. Otherwise no Maha season, no rice for the country. So we expect to reservoir. He done the forecast after October 15 definitely these reservoirs go up. Including Maragahakanda, Minneriya, all Kantale, everything go up. Otherwise, no Maha season, no rice for us. So that is what he is going to explain, and his message is to he always support to give this space for the elephant. But in my view, we have some limitation for that. We have to provide water to Kantale and Kaudulla by the time you have enough space, about close to 2,000 acre space is always available. So sometimes maybe below that level you may have big space, but due to the present scenario we need food production, we need tourism, we need hydropower, we need drinking water. Our requirements are going up day by day. So we have to maintain some level, not the huge level that we have to manage. We are inviting you, that is why I am irrigation department, we invite you, some member that divisional level officer can participate in area cultivation meeting, no, not to fight with farmers. We then irrigation engineer will explain the correct situation, levels and that and this. That field level officers, district level officers should get together and know the real situation. Irrigation engineer, he is not necessary to do any damage to wildlife or forest, anything. He is always there to for the same goal. Wildlife also for the same goal, for the country. So district level officers, divisional level officers can get together and see the actual situation, why these decisions are taken. I am inviting, if you like, to come to project management committee and cultivation meeting and district agricultural committee, and they say the situation. Then real time situation you can get to know by the irrigation engineer what is this is the level. I asked yesterday, have you seen that elephant gathering? He said, I cannot see that elephant gathering, I have go into the park. He is going that Bansai irrigation engineer Minneriya, he has to go personally to into the park and see the gathering. He cannot see around the, he is going around the dam, but he cannot see that area far away, and he has to go to the park. One day I went there and I saw the situation, but so that communication is very much important. I have to say, Mr. Manjula, he sent me a message also. He reminded me several times after 2021 case was occurred. Then I appeared, and then only Mr. Janta also appeared. We discussed the situation after 2021 case. One day on his invitation, we went to Minneriya Park as well and had the presentation also. We looked the situation. Then only we had the idea actually. We are engineers, we don't know everything on wildlife and other subjects. So your subject you must aware the irrigation people, our problems we have to aware the wildlife people, forest people. I have to say that fisheries and NAGDA people, we had the meeting 2 days back with the NAGDA. I said the Swami story, they have no any communication at all. So how to do this work? We are working for the general public in this country, but individual departments agendas cannot run. So we have to get together and do something. That's my message actually.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Avesivardhana. I think for one thing I have to beg permission from the WNPS to continue this a little bit longer. We were supposed to finish at 7:30. but I think it's quite very important information was raised today by, particularly from the water sector, that I felt that without trying to cut their presentation short, since we need to know about this, we should continue talking. And I think at a meeting in February with the chaired by the Secretary Tourism, where Mr. Nilantha Dhanapala was also present, there was an agreement that we could go back to pre-2018 water levels. Would that prior to the water levels during the dry season that were pre-2018? Is that a possibility that we can go, Mr. Vesivardhan?
Yeah, that I cannot say exactly as such actually.
Yes.
Now everything is changing now it is 2022,
Yes.
not 2018. So many things change, but what you know is to give some space to wildlife during that sensitive time.
Yes,
sensitive time actually.
Because now prior to 2018,
Yeah,
you were still able to, irrigation sector was still able to have enough irrigation water for cultivation.
No, not
enough.
Not enough actually.
So that means-
Kantale only Maha season
Okay. So
worked.
is it a decision of the government that there will be water in these reservoirs from now on?
Yeah. When Maragahakanda constructed,
Yes.
then there was a decision to increase the what we call cropping intensity in this area.
Okay.
Cropping intensity means Kantale, for example, only full extent cultivated only during Maha season. Yala season only halfway. Now both Yala and Maha had to be cultivated fully. Not only that, Kaudula also same. Kaudula, another new area came for the cultivation. So we have to consider all these, but we cannot forget, as other friends explained, we cannot forget the elephant requirement. We have to maintain that level, but that is technical matter. Now, if we are coordinating all the time, the crop is, we want to protect elephants and crop both. Then
yes, I know the most fundamental thing that you raised here is the lack of coordination. I think that is something that we all have to address for this to work.
Yeah.
I also feel that there has to be, sectors are looking at this from their sectoral perspective, which is natural. But listening to the figures that Mr. Mittapala mentioned, I feel that there is a necessity at a higher level of government, at least a multi-sectoral level of government, to see whether, because what is going to happen is if there is going to be water released for Yala as well, that means the reservoir grasslands available in both Minneriya and Kaudulla is going to be significantly less than when you all had only the Maha season, right? If that is the case, the number of elephants that will be there in Minneriya, Kaudulla will obviously reduce, as the numbers that I was showing clearly showed that trend. If the numbers are less, will the tourist attraction be as good as it is now? Because seeing 100 elephants, it can be done in Sri Lanka as well as in other elephant range states. Seeing 300 to 400 elephants is quite a phenomenon. That is why tourists are coming. So I feel that in that situation, maybe because everything is it's economics. Conservation takes a backseat. Talking from an economic point of view also, maybe at the finance ministry level or something like that, a decision has to be made what the priorities are. Because we are prioritizing. I agree. I truly appreciate Mr. Abhisiriwardana what you say, as well as Mr. Dhanapala, because both of you have been very responsive for people like me from outside making requests about the water, because we have no even status to make those requests. Still, you all have been very responsive to us, to trying to provide some grasslands for the elephants. But if we are trying to, if going back to the pre-2018 stage is not possible, then I think it should be a conscious decision made by the government that the country is willing to sacrifice the elephant gathering, the tourism revenue from the gathering, or reduce the revenue, because there will be automatic reduction of the revenue from the gathering. A conscious decision is being made to do that. I would rather a conscious decision be made than it automatically happen. So I feel maybe a recommendation that WNPS should be making to the government might be to elevate this to a
higher level discussion.
so that the economic benefits to the country,
I agree.
all aspects could be looked at and a decision made. The decision made could be that you are going to sacrifice the gathering for other purposes, or the decision could be that we are trying to ensure that the gathering. I'll take your presentation.
Yes. Actually, now I think, according to my understanding, no higher authority can make such a decision now, because that promises given to farming community.
No, not this year.
Not this year.
Yes.
That after construction of Maragahakanda and opening of Maragahakanda, that promises given by the then government to all these farmers. I think it may be very difficult to convince now.
Yes.
Anyway,
No,
my point is little different. My point is, you can, we will go to the Minneriya graph. We have the enough space that you need.
That is where I think there is a bit of a disagreement with us from the elephant conservation or the elephant research side. The 2,200 hectares is what you said.
Yes.
Is available.
Yes.
Pre-2018 there was much more than that available.
That
Right. It's the 2,200 hectares, while is a large amount of land for in the human context.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
the
In
elephant
the elephant
context.
context, it is not a very large amount of land.
Yeah.
The research data show that
how much you want?
no, generally the research data show that we haven't done this particular study in Minneriya itself.
Yeah.
But research done by Dr. Prutu, maybe I should tell him to respond to it. Prutu, can you talk about the elephant densities and the areas needed, please, in different habitats?
So basically, elephants areas, the rangers Sri Lanka
No, I'm sorry, you're breaking up again, Prutu.
some other.
No, you're breaking up, Prutu. I'll mention the data then. Okay. Based on studies done by the Center for Conservation and Research in Sri Lanka, as well as studies done in India, if it's now, one would think there is so much forest in Minneriya, so the elephant should be all right. If the forest is largely primary and secondary forest, the density of elephants in primary and secondary forest is about 0.2 elephants per square kilometer, which means each elephant needs about 500 hectares of habitat for a year for them to survive in primary and secondary forest. Whereas if you go to scrub jungle and grasslands, it's about 3 elephants per square kilometer. That means each elephant needs only about 33 hectares for survival. Obviously, this grasslands is seasonal. So 2,200 hectares, which is a large amount of land by human context, may not be enough to support the whole population that was coming there. So I think that factor also has to be taken into account when we are, because what we are doing now, unfortunately, is making decisions. I'm again going by what you said. We are not making decisions. It's all automatically happening because nobody is representing the elephant's point of view and the requirements is what you mentioned in your presentation. So that's why I think it is high time that the stakeholders, particularly the Department of Wildlife Conservation
and tourism,
as well as the elephant people who have done some research, would sit down with the water sector and first at the technical level try to see what can be done. Then there might be some constraints that all of us have, as you said. If successive government or the previous government has promised this amount of irrigation water will be given, and if that is, then the country has to decide, is that a done deal or whether there is any other compromise we could come.
No, my problem is actually this is not a new reservoir. It is very old reservoir,
Yes.
more than 200 years and 200, 300 years, very old reserve we are maintaining for 120 years now. With that, I asked on several officers who work for this reservoir that that area was maintained, no need further additional area. Well, this is the temporary location for the elephant. They are waiting for 2.5 months, 3 months maximum.
Unfortunately, the 2.5, 3 months that they spend
Very
there
critical.
is
Yeah.
very, very critical.
Very, very critical. I understood. Very, very critical. But that space is always we can maintain with this present scenario
Yeah,
also.
because if we get the space that was there prior to 2018, because Dr. Prithviraj Fernando's data is showing very clearly
Yes.
that the body condition of elephants started deteriorating from 2019 onwards, not prior to that.
But
So-
please, yeah, please. Then we are what in case of water level,
Yes.
we can help to maintain 2018 level. We try to manage with water management, other practices and all.
Yes.
But I am asking you, please do an independent survey.
Yes.
That why is there any other reason?
No, there
any
no,
other reason?
as Dr. Prithviraj said,
Yeah.
this
Behind
is one
this-
of the reasons.
Yeah,
He didn't
and
say this is the only reason.
There may be. We are working for the people and we are working for the that village and api mahapalawe in මිනිස්සුනේ.
Oh.
Then actually I feel there are some other reason behind this issue. Please study independently.
Yes, we are studying that. There are a couple of issues as he mentioned.
Yeah.
There are 3 issues that can be contributing to this. I'll talk on behalf of him because his connection is bad. He mentioned number one issue could be the reservoir water levels and the lack of grasslands. The second thing could be the ecosystem in Hurulu Eco Park, where the elephants spend the wet season. The habitat is changing a lot because through biological succession, it is become from largely grasslands and scrub jungle. It is slowly getting transformed like what has happened in Udawalawe and places like that to less suitable elephant habitat. So interventions will be needed there. The third thing he mentioned is the wildlife department fences. The electric fences may have also prevented movement of elephants. So all 3 are there.
Yes.
Yes, so I think we are extremely grateful to you, Mr. Abesivardhana and Mr. Dhanapala, because we have got a very positive response from you that you are willing to sit and
Discuss.
discuss it.
Yeah.
And then obviously a decision cannot be made today, but at least you have agreed that we can discuss and try to, we can bring our data and all of us can then sit and make a decision.
With that, I request another request.
Yes.
Another request. You mentioned 3 other factors behind behind this problem.
Yes.
And also this area-wise case, we are talking with the data sent by Minneriya irrigation engineer, other field level people.
Yes.
Physically, you can go to the reservoir area with the GPS instrument and check the area,
Yes.
you need it.
Sure.
They check the physical area in the tank bed. We
That
are
is
talking
needed.
about
Yes. Okay.
actually needed, and they know our irrigation caretaker working in the reservoir. He is 20 years, 30 years person is working.
Sure.
He know the water level with any technical knowledge.
Yes.
He know the water level where it was in before 2018 and after that what was happened.
Yes.
So with the GPS instrument you can do the some survey and,
And then
decide
come back.
some
Yeah, we
area.
discuss with wildlife
No,
and
not
do
the
that.
theoretical
Yes.
figures
Sure.
for the elephant needed, but what they enjoy it really. We can see what is happening.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
Yes.
let's move in that direction. But I must try. There are some questions from the audience, which I would like to go to now. A couple of people, or more than couple, have asked the same question, which is a difficult question, easy and difficult for me. Most of these issues involve the Department of Wildlife Conservation. Why are they not a panelist? Well, to be fair, the Wildlife Conservation, WNPS invited the Department of Wildlife Conservation to be on the panel because after all, they are the most important agency next to the water people. But for some reason, wildlife declined to participate in the panel. So I think the Wildlife Conservation Department should have been here because the Wildlife Conservation Department after all has the mandate to conserve wildlife in this country. But I also found out from a message that had come to Mr. Abesirwadan during this discussion from the Department of Wildlife Conservation, Mr. Manjula Maratna, Director, Protected Area Management, that they have been having discussions in 2021, which means the department is open for discussion. So that means we should try to continue having more discussion with the wildlife department and all of you, as well as others who are interested in this. There is 2 questions for you, Mr. Abesirwadana.
Yes.
Let me read it out to you. This is a technical query to Mr. Abesirwadana, which he may not be able to answer today, but it may be something to investigate. Over the years, flooding and water release will be an issue with sedimentation reducing the available depth of the tank and therefore the capacity. With proper environmental impact assessment, would removal of sediment allow Kantale to the required level to be maintained, right? But also increasing the land area freed for elephants to access the grasslands. Similar question, I'll combine both because both are to you and it's linked. To you, asking you whether it is possible to store water for agriculture in Kantale instead of Minneriya, particularly during the months June, July and August.
Yes. First questions. First question is tank desilting. We have done many investigation. Just after constructing a new reservoir, you get some siltation. That is about 10 to 20% maximum. After long run, if we go to 100 years time, no siltation at all, a very small quantity. But in any tank, you can see some silt. Some silt is there. It should be removed, actually speaking. For a small tank, it is practicable and may be valuable. But in case of larger reservoirs, if you want to remove it, huge money. You can construct another reservoir by using that money. Once you do the desilting, is just the clearing, not the removing muds. To make 1 acre feet of water, acre feet, අපි කියන්නේ අක්කර අඩි කියලා. අක්කර අඩියක් ඉවත් කරන්න මීටර් කියුබ් 45000ක් විතර ඉවත් කරන්න. ට්‍රැක්ටර් කීයක් යවන්න ඕනද, ලොරි කීයක් යනවද, මිලියන්ස් කීයක්ද කියලා බලන්න තව වැවක් හදන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා ඒ desilting වැඩේ not economical for our country. ඒක පොඩි lake එකක් නම් Kandy lake is good. Berry lake is good. It's a city. But Minneriya, Kaudulla, Parakram Samudra, Senanaga Samudra, if you go to desilt, you want another budget in Sri Lanka. ඒක නිසා ඒක recommend කරන්නේ අපි කරන්නේ ස්පිල් එක උස්සනවා බණ්ඩ එක ඉස්සනවා පොඩ්ඩක් අපි සිල්ට් එක අඟල් 6ක් අයින් කරනට වඩා අඟලක් ස්පිල් එක ඩෑම් එක උස්සලා ඒ වතුර ටික රඳව ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක තමයි concept එක අපි depending on the economy. අපි ලොකු සල්ලි නැති නිසා අපි desilting වලට යන්නේ නැහැ. අපි desilting වලට recommend කරනවා පොන්චි ටැංක් එකක් නම්. City tank එකක් නම් urban tank එකක් නම් desilting වලට recommend කරනවා. අපිට බෑ සමුද්‍රයක් desilting කරන්න. අපේ budget එක මදි. අනිත් එක තමයි
whether water can be stored in Kantale
Kantale
for the yellow season rather than
Kantaleta
stored in Minneriya.
MKY කියලා කියන්නේ Minneriya Kantale යෝධයාල කියලා කියන්නේ. කවුරු මේ මේ මොරගහ කන්ද හැදුවට පස්සේ ඔය normal natural path එක block වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා මොරගහ කන්දේ බැඳීමක් තියෙනවා. කන්තලේට වතුර දෙන්න ඒක ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එකක්. ඒක දැන් කලින් සිනාරියෝ එකට නම් කන්තලේට වතුර යනවා. කැච්මන්ට් එකක් තිබුණා කැච්මන්ට් එක කැපිලා තියෙන්නේ දැන්. අපි බ්ලොක් කරලා තියෙන අපි ආටිෆිෂියලි දෙන්නම ඕන.
ඔව් ඉතින් ඒක දැන් අපිට මේ Minneriya මේ තනපිටිය ඕනේ ජූන් ජූලයි ඕගස්ට් සැප්තැම්බර්නේ.
ඔව් ඊට කලින් දැන් අපි ඒක තමයි මේක කරලා තියෙන්නේ දැන්. දැන් මේ නිලන්ත මහත්තයෙක් කිව්වේ බය නැතුව ඉදිරි ටිකේ අපි කන්තලේ බේර ගන්න. අපි තව මාස දෙකක් වතුර දෙන්න තියෙනවා කන්තලේට. අපි දැන් කලින් වැස්ස දවස්වල අපි කරන්නේ වැස්ස දවස්වල මේ ලින්ක් වෙලා තියෙන මේක ඔක්කොම අපේ යගේ නහර පද්ධතිය වගේ අර එහෙම මෙහාට දාන්න පුළුවන්. අපි වහිනකොටම කරන්නේ ඔය වගේ අසීරු තැන්. අනුරාධපුරයේ තිසාවැව, නාච්චදුව ඒ තැන් වලට වහින කාලේට අසීරු තැන් පුරව ගන්නවා. අපි කන්තලේ පුරවගෙන තිබුණේ. මේ කන්නට අවශ්‍යම නැහැ. අති වෙන පුරවගෙන තුන අවාසනාවකට රටේ පොහොර ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආවා. දොර ඇරියා වගා කරේ නෑ මාසෙකමාරක් වතුර නාස්ති වුණා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි අර ගෙදරක දරුවෝ උගන්වන්න මහන්සි ගන්නවා වගේ පාමස්ලා ප්‍රොමෝට් කරා අනේ කෙසේ හෝ වගා කරන්න කියලා. ඒකයි උනේ වතුර නාස්ති වුණා. අපි ස්ටෝර් කරගත්ත වහින දවස්. ඒ කන්සෙප්ට් එකට යන්න තමයි අපි දෙන්නේ. ඒ කන්සෙප්ට් එක අපි කරනවා. ඒක පුළුවන් ක්‍රමයක් තියෙනවා වතුර තියෙන කාලයට කන්තලේ ගබඩා කරගත්ත එක සිම්පල් කන්සෙප්ට්. එහෙම ගිහිල්ලා මේ ස්පේස් එක දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක නමුත් අපිට මම කිව්වේ අපිට පාලනය කළ නොහැකි දේවල්. පොහොර ප්‍රශ්න අපිට පාලනය කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? අපිට රටේ ෆියල් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආවා දඩස් ගාලා මොරගහ කන්ද දිගටම අරින්න උනා දිගටම කොහෙන් හෝ මේ වතුර ටික මුහුදට දාන්න පුළුවන්ද අපිට? බෑ. මුහුදට දාන්න ජාතික අපරාධයක්. අපිට ඇලහැර අමුණ ඇරලා කෙලිම මහවැලිගඟේ යවන්න තිබුණා. හැබැයි ඒක තව අපරාධයක්. කොහේ හරි ස්ටෝර් කරගන්න ඕන. ඒක නිසා අපි මින්නේරියට දැම්ම, කන්තරේට දැම්ම, කොහේ හරි ස්ටෝර් කරගන්නවා. ඒක තමයි කරේ තිබුණු සිටුේෂන් එකත් එක්ක.
ඔව් දැන් ඒක තමයි දැන් අනාගතේ අපි පොඩ්ඩක් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න ඕනේ. මම නැවත ඒක ගැන යන්නේ නැහැ මොකද අපි තීරණයක් අරන් තියෙනවා අපි සාකච්ඡා කරමුයි කියලා. Then there is a question for me. Sumit refers to Moragaha Kanda as a human intervention, but isn't Minneriya too a human intervention? In my presentation, when I spoke about a human intervention, yes, all Moragaha Kanda, Minneriya, everything have been man-made. But I was talking about since the advent of Moragaha Kanda, the human releases of water from Moragaha Kanda into Minneriya happened from 2019 onwards. So I was referring to that as a human intervention, that if not water was not coming into Minneriya during that season prior to Moragaha Kanda. Then he also requests it is a man-made habitat that is managed for irrigation purposes that simply happens to cause large numbers of elephants to gather. The gathering is an artificial phenomenon. If there was no Minneriya tank and the government wanted to build it now, I bet all the panelists would object to such an intervention. Like all other wildlife, shouldn't elephants too be allowed to manage with natural habitat? See, that I feel since there is, for the last several decades, the elephants in Minneriya have been managing with the grasslands because the water was there only for one season. It is with Moragaha Kanda and the intervention of Moragaha Kanda that water for 2 seasons is being stored in Minneriya Kaudulla. So therefore it has reduced the elephant habitat. And that is where, so okay, one option as you suggest is for elephants to manage with the natural habitat and not have most of the grasslands. That means I would rather that may be a conscious decision made by the government, because the elephant population will reduce to its carrying capacity and the problems have been identified by Dr. Puthu already, that it's happening, that elephants most likely are dying even now. Then shouldn't that be a decision that we consciously make rather than let it happen naturally without trying to manage the situation, at least have a discussion on it. So that is why I feel that there has to be more stakeholder collaboration and for us to try to deal with the situation. Then it's another question that has been raised to me. Is there any discussion on increasing the grasslands, maybe by clearing forest to mitigate the Minneriya issue? A similar documentary was seen in Manas National Park in northeast of India. See, the problem is we need grasslands for elephants largely during the dry season, not during the wet season. If you clear the forest, unless that area also gets submerged during the wet season and allows fresh grasses to grow, it's not really going to help the elephants that much. So that is something that needs to be looked at, but obviously unless it can be flooded, there is no point looking at that option. But that can be something that we can discuss when we all meet. I think
the important point I forget to tell, actually after 2024, now Upper Harahara Canal is on the way, going on construction. So we have to provide the promises are there, North Central Province water requirement. There are huge requirements there, including drinking water. So we have to open that canal. that is under the construction and given on contract. They will, it is foreign contract, they will finish it by time. So by another 2 years time, we don't face this situation. We have to do better water management to cater both areas. Then no additional water for Minneriya coming after 2 years time. If you propose something to government to cater, they will expedite the canal and water divert water to north center.
Okay.
That's the whole the solution.
Thank you. I think we are running out of time, so I will have to stop the discussion, which is very important. We'll take it up offline to discuss. I think the WNPS has a video that we would like to show you for a few minutes before we close. But before I close up and go to the video, I would like to thank all 4 panelists for their excellent inputs, and particularly Mr. Abesiriwardana, who came here in person, and Mr. Dhanapala, because today we got to know the real situation with the requirements of irrigation. So I think we are now in a position to take the next step forward by talking about this. And I would also like to thank the Colombo jewelry stores for sponsoring this event. With that, let me turn you over to the video clip. I'm sorry, give us a minute, the video clip is not while we are getting the video clip, I have to apologize that I went on for half an hour more than what I was supposed to, but I think it was quite interesting.
How many people virtually join? Virtually join, how many people about?
I think
මේ අලිට අපිට දොස් පවරන්නට බැහැ. ඔවුන් තමන්ගේ නිදහසේ තමන්ගේ බපසරිය ඇතුළත සීමාව ඇතුළත තමන් පුරුදු විදිහට ගමන් කරනවා. එතකොට අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? මේ අලින්ගෙන් බේරෙන්න යම් උපක්‍රම පාවිච්චි කරනවා. මේ උපක්‍රම වලින් අද දවසේ මිනිසුන් සොයාගෙන තියෙන හොඳ උපක්‍රමයක් තමයි මේ විදුලි අලි වැටලා නිර්මාණය කිරීම.
කලින් ආපු ක්‍රමයට ඇවිල්ලා බලනකොට එන්න අමාරුයි. ඊට පස්සේ රවුමට කැරකෙනවා. ගිහිල්ලා අනිත් පාරේ යන්නේ කුඹුර වලට. දැන් මෙහෙන් ගියත් කුඹුර වලට, මෙහෙන් ගියත් කුඹුර වලට. ඒකටත් මොනවා හරි වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් කරගත්තා කිසි කරදරයක් නැහැ.
දැන් අපි පිටපැත්තේ කුඹුරු කරලා තියෙනවා, කුඹුරු කරනවා, අපි බඩගම්බලේ කුඹුරු කරනවා, කුඹුරු කරන අවස්ථාවේ අපි කුඹුරටත් මේවා රටාවක් කරලා තියෙනවා. තාවකාලික මාස 3ක වැටක් අපි අරගෙන තියෙනවා, වැට අර ගෙදරක තියෙනවා. අපි කුඹුරු කරන් පස්සේ ඒ තාවකාලික වැට අරන් ගිහින් මාතුළු ලව්ව ගහ ගන්නවා. ඒ සාර්ථක. මාස 3න් ගලවනවනේ. අපි මේ වැට ගහනවත් එක්කම අපි පැල් ගහනවා. පැල් ක්‍රමයට හැම කෙනෙක්ම මාරුවට පැලකට පැල් 7ක් විතර ගහනවා අපි වෙලේ. අපි මේ පැල් 7ට යනවා කට්ටිය. මේ පැල් 7ට යනවා කුඹුර කපලා බේරිච්ච ගමන් ගැලෙව්වා සත්තුන්ට කන්න ඕන විදිහට දහසේ දැම්මා.
මේ අක්කර මුළු මේකටම ගහලා තියෙනවා සාමාන්‍ය අක්කර 70කට විතර.
කම්බියේ
තනකොළ ගහක් හරි ගෑවුනොත් මේකේ තියෙන වෝල්ටේජ් එක කරන්ට් ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වෙනවා. ඒ අඩු වෙන හින්දා තමයි මම නිතරම ඇවිල්ලා මේ වගේ දේවල් මේක ගෑවිලා තිබුණොත් එහෙම ඉවත් කරන්න ඕනේ. මේන්ටේන් කියන්නේ දවස් 3-4 සැරයක් තමයි ඇවිල්ලා මොන හරි මේකේ රොඩක් හරි වැදිලා තිබුණොත් එහෙම වෝල්ටේජ් එක පොඩ්ඩක් අඩු වෙනවා. ඒ අඩු වෙන හින්දා නිතරම ඉතින් බලනවා මම වැට තවල් තියනවා. මොකද දවල්ට කරන්ට් එක නැති හින්දා හරක් එහෙම ගිහිල්ලා රිංගලා පොඩ්ඩක් එහෙම වුණොත් කම්බි ඇදෙනවා. ඒ ඇදුනොත් එහෙම නැවත මම කෙලවරකින් ලෙහලා ඇදලා අදලා ආය හිර කරනවා, ආය ටයිට් කරනවා. වෝල්ටේජ් 10ක් තියෙනවා. මිනිසෙකුට වැදුනට කිසිම හානියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. විසික්ක වෙලා වැටෙනවා එච්චරයි. කියන්නේ තප්පරෙන් තප්පරයට තමයි මේ තප්පරයක් අර තප්පරයක් තමයි කැඩෙන්නේ. කැඩි කැඩි එන කරන්ට් එකක් තියෙන්නේ.
ඔට්ටුනවා. කරන්ට් ඔට්ටුනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට කඩනවා. ඉතින් අර කට්ටිය ඉඳලා නවා කරලා රැකලා කොහොම හරි කරලා නැවත ආය ආපහු කඩාපු තැනින් පන්නලා අය ඒ රෑම හොරනවා.
ඒ වෙනකම්ම කැඩුවේම නැහැ. අර දරුණු අලිය කියන ඒ තනි අලියා ඒ අලිය විතරයි වැට කඩන්නේ. අනිත් රංචු ආවම කඩන්නේ නැහැ කොහොමදත්. බයයි වැටට හිට වෙන්නවත් නැහැ. වැට වටේම යනවා. දැන් මාස දෙකමාරක්ම වුණා. මාස දෙකමාරටම අද ඊයේ රෑ විතරයි වැට කැඩුවේ.
ඉන්නම වෙනවා ඉතින් වැට ගැව්වත් ඉන්නේ නැත්නම් වැට කඩනවනේ නේ.
තරෝ ඉතින් අපි මේ වටේම කුඹුරු ඇතුලේ සම්පූර්ණ වටේම පැල් ගහගෙන පැල් වලින් තමයි මේ වැට ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ. සමහර දවසට අලි දවල්ටත් මේ වැට පිටපැත්තේ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් වෙන අලින්ගෙන් තමයි විතරයි අපිට මේක ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් අනික් සත්තුන්ගෙන් ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නටම ටිකක් අර කම්පියුටර් දෙකනේ තියෙන්නේ. තව වැටෙන් පොටක් භාගය ඇදගත්තොත් ඌරොත් ආයෙ එන්නේ නැහැ මේවට. ඌරෝගෙන් අමාරු. ඌර පැල් රැක්කත් ඌරුගෙන්
නමුත් මේ සතුන්ගේ හානිය පවත්වාගෙන යනවා. එතකොට අපි ඒ අවසන් වුණාන් පස්සේ අපේ කට්ටිය නැවත සාමූහික එකතු වෙලා මේක නැවත ගලවලා ගත්තාන් පස්සේ අපි ඒ වනාලින්ට ඕන සැරිසරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට තමයි මේ අපි මේ වැට පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ.
මාස් කන්ට මේ අලියට ගහනවා. එතකොට ගලවන්නේ ගෝයන් කපලා ඉවරෙච්චාම වැට ගලවලා ආයෙත් අර ගහන සුරක්ෂිතව තියලා තියෙනවා. ආයෙ නැවත ආයෙ කවදා හරි ආයෙ කුඹුරු විහිණ දවස තමයි වැට ගන්න. ඒක වැට අපි සුරක්ෂිතව තැම්පත් කරලා තියලා තියෙනවා.
දැන් බැවේ වතුර බොන්න එනවනේ ඩෑඩ්. එතකොට වැබු කොට කරන්නේ නැහැ නේ සතාට වතුර බොන්න එහෙම ඇරලානේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒතර වෙල්ල වුණත් මේ දැන් මේ මහත්තයලා කොට කරලා තියෙන ඒවා අස්වැන්න ගත්ත ගමන් අපි අරින්න ඕන සතට කන්න ඉපෙනැල්ල. ඒතර කන්න අරිනවා වැටවල් ගලවනවා. ඒවා ගලවන වැටවල්. මේ සතාටත් බඩගින්න ඉන්න බෑනේ ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕනේ සතා.
අද ඔබ අලිමිනිස් ගැටුමෙන් පීඩා විඳිනවා නම් ඔබට යම් කිසි දෙයක් තියෙනවා කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබගේ කුඹුරු අලින්ගෙන් හානි සිදු වෙනවා නම් ඔබට පුළුවන් ඔබේ කුඹුර ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න ඒ වටා කාලීන විදුලි වැටක් යොදා ගැනීම.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience, and sorry that we had a few technical glitches with the video as well. At this time, I'd like to say a few words of thanks to the panel, and and to the people that logged in. So first of all, thank you very much for everyone that logged into the forum that we had. And want to reiterate that WNPS is always going to be a facilitator of events of this nature, and we would like to continue to be the facilitator for this issue at Minneriya for our elephants. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Abesiri Gunwadana from the Department of Irrigation, and Mr. Nilanta Dhanapala, Chair of the Water Management Committee of the Mahaveli, Mr. Srilal Mitrapala, who has over 25 years of experience in the hospitality industry, and Dr. Prithviraj Fernando, Chair of the Center for Conservation and Research. We work very closely with him and his organization. And the last moderator and panelist, Dr. Sumit Pilavitia, who is the former DG of DWC and also serves as on an advisory capacity to the Human-Elephant Conflict Subcommittee of WNPS. Before I say my last few words, the film that you just saw will be used on a series of programs that we are going to go to the rural community, and it's part of it. And we have to thank Klaus from Compass Films and Help, the organization that's going to be working with WNPS at the ground level. And lastly, this forum and felicitation of this event would not be possible if not for Mr. Akram Kasim and the owner of Colombo Jewelry Stores. Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon with other activity that we get involved with. Thank you.